The prices for food, fuel, and homes are on the rise. But amazingly, mortgage interest rates are still incredibly low. But how long can it last?
If a cash-out refinance or home purchase is in your plans, the clock is ticking. Give our team at Fellowship Home Loans a call at 800-804-SAVE. That's 800-804-7283. And put interest rates in a timeout.
Online, it's fellowshiphomeloans.com. Save on your monthly payment, take cash out to reduce debt, or maybe even shorten your term. Don't let inflation break the bank. Call Fellowship Home Loans at 800-804-SAVE. That's 800-804-7283 or fellowshiphomeloans.com.
The Fellowship Home Loans team will take the time to listen and help you live the dream for less. We listen, we hear, and we care.
Fellowship Home Loans. Welcome home.
Intercontinental Capital Group, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender, MLS number 60134.
We have absolute assurance that we will get through tough times, and also an ultimate rescue is on the way, and God will rescue his people. The question is not, will he do it? The question is, will we be a part of it?
I'm David Sams, and this is CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, the podcast from the producers of Keep the Faith. My guest today has 2.4 million followers on Facebook, 1.3 million followers on Twitter, nearly 300,000 followers on Instagram, over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, 1.6 million podcast downloads, and that's just in the first 10 months of this podcast that he has. 145 million products in print, 92 million books in print. 1 in 6 Americans are familiar with him, and 1 in 7 Americans have read one of his books. I'm talking about my friend, Max Lucado. Max has been a friend for, over 20 years. He is in a league of his own. And I'm so just proud of him, because during the coronavirus, he did a daily check-in video with folks across multiple platforms. And as a result, those videos, get this, those videos were viewed some 42 million times during the pandemic. And he started this, last March. So, wow, it just goes to show you why. Well, listen to this. He had a book sales surge during the pandemic. That's right. While bookstores were closed, Max Lucado's book sales grew by some 45% during the pandemic. So I can't wait for you to hear about his new book. And he's going to tell us a little bit about that today, because it's called You Were Made for This Moment. And it encourages you that even when your world feels wrapped in winter, that you can find hope and inspiration. Let's get to my interview with the one, the only Max Lucado. Hey, Max, this is David. How you been, buddy?
I've been great. How about you?
You know what? I'm doing great too. It's good to be on the backside of 2021.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Good night. What a year.
Are you sitting in your office there?
Yeah. What do you think? Do I need to change something?
I'm always trying to read the books in the background, but I can't read yours. Are all of those your books in the bookshelves?
Yeah. You know, it's a one thing. If you don't worry about quality, then you can focus on quantity.
Hey, listen, you know, I think when we first started working together, what was it? When did we do that infomercial with Byron back in the day?
Byron. Yeah, that was a book called It's Not About Me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that came out in 97, 98.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah, I think you were up to about 70 or 80 million books sold at that point. Now it's like double.
My wife bought most of them. She did.
Hey, first of all, I want to tell you how much we appreciate the fact that during the coronavirus, you did those check-ins and all that, and I read this amazing stat that what was that? 42 million views of your check-in with people during the coronavirus online.
Well, you influenced that as well. In one of our conversations a few years ago, you talked to me about a podcast format message, something that you had a great line. You said that your quest was to lay claim to the drive time or something like that.
Right.
Keeping a shorter format, not necessarily a lengthy one, but a 8 or 10 minute, envisioning somebody on the treadmill or somebody driving to work. And so when COVID hit and people were just freaking out, I really, and I don't use this phrase unless I really mean it. I really felt the Lord saying, now's your time. And so I just got online and started recording these 8 to 10 minute messages of encouragement. I avoid controversy. My job's not to stir up any politics. I just try to keep people's hearts high, heavy hearts lifted. And so thank you for sowing that seed, 5 or 6, 7 years ago, that would be a workable format.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. And one reason I wanted to get with you today is because we're at a pivotal time. A lot of folks have not gone to church in well over a year and a half. And they say it only takes a month to reprogram your mind. And so many of us we've gotten used to coming out and watching church in our underwear or pajamas.
Underwear. Yeah.
And having our coffee and sort of just throwing it up on the screen. And now I see all of these church, some people, of course, have gone back to church, but there are a lot of pews empty. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the importance of getting back to church and how we may look at doing church maybe even differently because of all this. I know you've had a tremendous amount of success with online church, and a lot of folks have, but how are you looking at things going forward?
Well, that is a very practical question. And I think it's important to say there is no substitute for in-person church. There's just no substitute for it. There's a reason that Scripture says, do not neglect the meeting together of yourselves to spur one another on to good works. Because when we meet together, whether that's in someone's home or in a gymnasium or in a church sanctuary, when I see you present, you see me present, it's kind of like we're casting a public vote in this world in which we feel increasingly on the fringe or in the minority in our faith. We need to see one another. I would even go so far as to say that something spiritual happens in the atmosphere of a city when a congregation of people come together and pray for the city, and pray for the hungry, pray for the lonely, pray for the needy. There's something that's happening when your prayers intermingle with mine that's pleasing to the Spirit of the Lord. And so I think that's an important dynamic that we need to keep in mind. So I understand if somebody's reticent to come to church for health reasons. Understand. God bless you. The Lord will protect you, and you come when you feel safe. However, there's a good subpopulation that feels completely healthy. They're going everywhere else in public. They've been vaccinated. They're not hesitant to go to the gym or to the bowling alley, but they've gotten in this Sunday habit of, like you say, sipping coffee and watching church in their pajamas. And I would just urge them, politely say, come on. Yeah, we've got to consistently avoid the consumerism mentality that says the church exists to entertain me. And if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm sipping coffee and all I'm doing is receiving, I'm making and I'm doing nothing in return, nothing to physically demonstrate my faith, then I would really urge that person to reconsider their patterns.
I know that your books have really resonated with folks over the years. 1 out of 7 people in America have read one of your books. And frankly, I don't know of anybody else that, other than the Bible. Why do you think that you've been so successful as an author, and why your message gets out there and people can't wait to get the next Max Lucado book?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I do know that I am an old converted drunk. I was really on the road to ruin. I am Luke 15, the lost sheep, lost coin, lost prodigal, all in one. I was a mess. I really was. And the Lord in his mercy redeemed me. And not only did he redeem me, he gave me a chance to teach and write. I have no clue. I don't have any secret formula. I love to write. I love the gospel. And maybe there's something about the two of those passions coming together that results in a good book.
We've gone through a lot of upheaval over the last couple of years.
Boy, haven't we?
And it's crazy. We think we have, and then I there are a couple of podcasts I listen to that are American history podcast, and you think of all the craziness America's gone through over all these years. Congress used to show up, and they used to have duels. I mean, they used to have fistfights in the halls of Congress. I saw one instance where they had to wrestle a guy to the ground that brought a gun into Congress, one of the congressmen. So we think all of this is some new thing, but
unique to us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we've gone through so much upheaval, and I just want you to sort of address where you think we are and how you think God comes into play, and what we can do to get to the other side of this if we just put our faith to work.
Great question. You're absolutely right. Not only has America gone through seasons of turmoil like we've gone through, the world has gone through it. In fact, I think the reason the Bible follows history the way it does, as opposed to just a list of values and teachings, the reason the Bible takes us through these stories is so we'll know that, God got Joseph through the famine. God got Elijah through the drought. God got Esther and Esther and Mordecai through the Holocaust. God got, the nation of Israel through the misogynist arrogance of King Herod. God got the church through the persecution. It's just one struggle after another, but in the midst of it, God is at work. And at the end of it, God is victorious. And so I think there is a common theme, and that is trusting God for the big picture. Trusting God for the big picture. In this book that we're releasing now, the story of Esther, the key promise is when Mordecai gets a message to the queen, and he says, relief and deliverance will come. He just operated off of this deeply rooted conviction that relief and deliverance will come. The question was not, would God deliver his people? The question was, would Esther be a part of the redemption, be part of the relief effort? And that's the same today. We have absolute assurance that we will get through tough times, and also an ultimate rescue is on the way, and God will rescue his people. The question is not, will he do it? The question is, will we be a part of it? Will we, like Esther, step up to the plate and participate in the divine drama? She didn't have to. She could have stepped back. She could have been cloistered for the rest of her life. She had a comfortable life as a queen, and she could have just pretended that even though she was a Jew, she'd tell nobody and let the Holocaust happen. But she chose not to, and her story inspires us to be a part of the victory as well.
You wrote this book during COVID-19, and the book, by the way, is what called Made for This Moment. So writing this book during COVID-19, how did you look at things differently than any other time, any other book that you've previously written? Because, oh gosh, first of all, were you in lockdown? Were you, I mean, I know that usually when you write a book, you kind of disappear for months. you go to a special place and you're you don't seem to do any interviews. You just sort of, you go off on your own, but this time you were really in lockdown.
Yeah, we all were. This was spring of 2020. The pandemic was just fueling the fears of people around the world. And you might recall, David, I'm still a pastor. I'm not senior pastor any longer, but I do preach 20 times a year. And so I was in the preaching cycle. I was scheduled to bring a series of messages on managing money. Well, boy, did that sound tone deaf in the middle of, in the middle of a pandemic, or as it was beginning. And so we pulled an audible there, and I thought, I went to the staff and the elders, and I said, there is a story in the Bible that as a church we've never studied, at least in the time I've been here, and it's a story of a global calamity. I think it would really fit for what we're going through. And so we turned our attention to the story of Esther, and it is a fascinating story. It is so fascinating. We found it so real. You've got these four main characters, Xerxes and Haman and Mordecai and Esther. Xerxes is rich beyond imagination. Haman is a racist to the core. Mordecai it works for the capital or for the throne, but he keeps his Jewish ancestry a secret, and then he convinces his niece Esther to enter a star search or a bachelor contest in which she is selected queen, which would require spending the night with the king. And how many violations, how many parts of her Jewish ancestry did she violate in doing that? She keeps her ancestry a secret as well. And so it's this brewing toxicity of ancient Persia, of you've got a king who's rich and in charge. You've got a right-hand man, Haman, who wants to kill the Jewish people. You've got Mordecai, who can't stand Haman. You've got Esther, who's queen but doesn't want to do anything. And so it's a time of confusion. But then there's a crisis. And so the crisis is what brings the identities to the forefront. And I don't want to give away all the details of the story in case any of your listeners have never read Esther, but I think it's a story for our time. I really do. And I'm so grateful that we sense the leading of the Lord to study it as a church. And now we've, packaged those messages in the book. And I want to convince all of us that we were made for this moment.
What is the uniqueness of Esther, and how did that book make it into the Bible?
Yeah. Esther is one of the two books in the Bible where God's name never appears. The other being the Song of Solomon. It's an interesting thought to think that there's a book in the Bible where you never read Jehovah, where you never see God's name, where there's really no reference to the temple, no reference to Scripture. The unique thing about Esther that makes it so applicable for us today is it is the story of God's people away from God's land. All the other Old Testament books describe God's people receiving their promise either in Jerusalem or in the surrounding areas of Jerusalem in the promised land. Esther and Daniel are books that really describe God's people being cut off from their ancestry, cut off from their homeland, and trying to live out their faith in a foreign place. Well, that's exactly where we are. We're all trying to live out our faith. We realize that we're citizens of heaven, but boy, we don't feel like we're in heaven. We realize that our passports may say, an American citizen, Brazilian citizen, Scottish citizen, but really we're citizens of heaven. So how do people of faith behave in a faithless culture far away from their homeland? Well, that was the question facing Mordecai. That was the question facing Esther. And that's really the question facing us today. I think that's why the story of Esther is so relevant for this day and age.
In this book, you encourage us to live fully in grace and the love of God, and to step out in bold courage and faith, and to trust God for victory for all the injustices. Tell me a little bit about that.
What an injustice came the way of the Jewish people. Haman was the bad guy who traces his ancestry all the way back to the earliest enemies of the Jews when Moses and the children of Israel were coming out of Egyptian captivity. There was a tribe that was hostile to the Jewish people. Haman is a descendant of that tribe. In other words, his anti-Semitism was baked in to his DNA. Mordecai kept his Jewish identity a secret, I think for pragmatic reasons, so he could have a good job. What advantage was it to tell everybody he was a Jew? By the way, not all the Jews in ancient Persia kept their identity a secret, but Mordecai chose to. Consequently, he had a job in the palace. He had the ear of the king. And he was also in the small circle of people who would have been exposed to the wrath of Haman. And Haman decided that it was time for King Xerxes to, just literally do away, exterminate the Jewish people. And Xerxes, the clueless brute of a king, agreed to do it. And so when Haman set about this task, it incurred the wrath of Mordecai. Mordecai refused to bow before Haman, one of the great scenes of the Bible. And the injustice of the Holocaust was initiated. That's not the last injustice of the world. Every injustice, every racial injustice, every ethnic injustice, every time there's people dying of hunger simply because they're born in the wrong latitude, it causes us to wonder, does God know what's going on? I think the reason that Esther is in the Bible is to tell us, yes, God has a solution. The day is coming ultimately when all these injustices will be turned on their head. But in the meantime, there will be these intermediate victories as we, and to the degree with which we partner with God in bringing about a reversal of these injustices. So I would say that every time we help feed the hungry, every time we help stand up for somebody who has been marginalized for one reason or another, every time we follow God in what his heart is, then we are being, like Esther, a part of the solution in refusing to accept the problem.
I want to talk a minute about where the church is at and moving forward. And I know that you have been doing this for quite some time, and you've got almost 145 million products out there in print, and your books have been printed in 45 languages, and you've had 23 books that have each sold 1 million copies. But that being said, you've also got 2.5 million followers on Facebook, over 1 million followers, 1.3 million followers on Twitter. And Instagram, you have 296,000 followers. And the reason I bring that up is because you have continued to reinvent the way you get your message out there. You haven't got stuck behind the pulpit, so to speak. You've got out there amongst the people. And I want to talk about the importance of that and the importance of reinventing yourself, because there are a lot of pastors out there right now that are at a loss. They don't quite know how to move forward after this crazy year and a half. And we've gone through the stage where we bring out the lights in the fog machines with the big worship teams, And now here we are on hopefully on the other side of this, maybe not. But talk to me about the importance of going where the people are at. You know, like Billy Graham did years ago when he decided to four-wall movie theaters and put movies out there.
Well, these are remarkable days we live in, aren't they, David? I mean, you've seen all expressions of media come and go. I think we're in a really exciting time. You know, this is a time in which a person, if they so desire, can broadcast without incurring the massive overhead and expense that you and I know was a part of media ministry just 10, 15 years ago. It was and it still is a significant expense to have a television ministry. And to support that, one must have a pretty extensive sized team. One must be serious about fundraising and really committed to having a quality production studio. I think that's a wonderful thing. I just never felt like I had that bent. But when it came an opportunity to simply capture messages on my phone, to sit in my study at home or my study here at the church building and just record what was on my heart that day or record a message maybe I'd prepared sometime prior, I thought, well, I can do that. And I found that authenticity, that simplicity seemed to really resonate with people. I don't really know if I'm a cutting edge, out on the front sort of guy. I do think that I saw this as a window of opportunity, unique to people like me who don't want to build a big, go to a studio or build a big production team. And so this was perfectly tailored for me, and I'm very, very grateful for it. I truly am. We're not many here. I mean, I don't have a team. I have a great assistant and a great publicity team at the publisher. But I think this is a testimony that God can use an old sinner, an old drunk who doesn't know anything about technology. And if let's keep presenting the gospel, the good news of forgiveness and resurrection of the dead. And I think this is a unique and wonderful window that we have in which to work.
So when you come up with a message that you put online, because I know a lot of folks who are probably listening right now, they're probably thinking, I'm not a great, I don't know how to, I fear going live on Facebook. Yeah. What's the process that you go through? I mean, I know my dad being an old-time minister, every Saturday night he'd be working on that Sunday morning message for hours, right? Do you just wake up in the morning and have an idea and just share that, or do you have to put a lot of preparation into that? And I want you to talk to somebody out there right now that has got to realize, number one, there are no gatekeepers anymore.
Right.
So there really are no excuses. You can have worldwide distribution by going on your phone and literally be on YouTube or on Facebook or some of the other social networks. What did you do to get over that hump so that you didn't fear about just going on live?
Yeah, and you can relate, right, David? I mean, you remember when this was much more complicated. Correct? Yes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just a few years ago. I mean, it was like you say, there were gatekeepers everywhere. You had to pay a lot of bills. You had to get a lot of permission, had to create a lot of staff and overhead. And so this is a unique and wonderful window. So I would encourage people who feel a call of God to pursue this, just to pursue it. Now, when I present a message, I'm not just talking off the cuff. I have written that message out. Maybe it's a message that I've prepared years ago for a sermon. Maybe it's something I prepared specifically for this event. But I don't want to violate people's time and just ramble. So I'm very careful about crafting the message. I've even been known to use a teleprompter. On our phones, you can put a teleprompter. It's a wonderful thing. Because my mind tends to wander and I want to stay on task. But I believe whenever we set out to talk to people about the gospel, we should do so prepared. And then if the Holy Spirit nudges us in the moment of presentation to go a different direction, that's wonderful. And he does. And so sometimes there's a blessing on what I've prepared. Sometimes I feel at the last minute the need to go a slightly different direction or a completely different direction, and that's okay as well. But prepare, practice, and present. It's just that simple. And then most of all, before you start, pray. Just ask the Lord to give you a message, and then prepare, practice, and present, and see what happens.
Well, to wrap this up, I just wanted to mention to you that, and mention to our folks, the most important bullet point that I got from your publicity team this time around. They have down here that you have a golf 12 handicap. So I just wanted to point that out.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I have the golf swing that keeps instructors up at night. It's just terrible. I played golf with an instructor here recently, and he said, your swing looks like an octopus falling out of a tree. Another one, I went to a teacher for a lesson, and after examining several swings and looking at me from all angles, I said, what's going on? He said, well, I'm trying to find the one problem that's causing the other 9.
Oh, that's
so great. It's a lifelong quest.
Well, the book is called You Were Made for This Moment, Courage for Today and Hope for Tomorrow. My friend, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And
yes, sir. It's great to connect with you again. You keep up the good work.
Will do, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Max. Boy, what an encourager Max is. And I just love having him here on the podcast. He is just a remarkable gentleman, and I've really enjoyed knowing him over the years. He just seems to write the right book at the right time. You know, he's always on top of things and how people are feeling and what they need to feed their souls. So thank you, Max. We really do appreciate you. The book, once again, is called You Were Made for This Moment by Max Lucado. Make sure you pick it up wherever you get your books, or, of course, on Amazon.com. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith. I'm David Sams. Hey, please do rate and review us because, nobody's going to know about us unless you rate and review us and you get us out there, okay? So I would really appreciate that. We'll be back here in a few days with a brand new episode. And do me a favor, go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. We'll see you next time.